Welcome back to another edition of Maryland Family Matters, the official podcast of the Maryland Family Institute. My name is Jeff Trimbath, and I have the privilege of serving as founder and president of Maryland Family Institute. With us today is a very special guest, Dr. Joseph Prud'homme, who has been a longtime friend of ours at Maryland Family Institute, is with us to talk about his life, his career, his ministry as a professor, and then a very special project that we have been working on now for over a year at Maryland Family Institute. Dr. Prud'homme, welcome to Maryland Family Matters.
Well, thank you so much, Jeff, for allowing me to speak with you this afternoon or this morning. It really is a treat, and as you emphasized in your brief remarks there, this MFI program that you and I are working on is really the core of my professional life, and I'm so dedicated to it. It's such a blessing. So all the time, everything I can do for MFI is just is wonderful, and I deeply appreciate all your support.
Well, thank you so much. Let's start sort of at the beginning here, Joe. I'd love to know a little bit about
Sure.
sort of your story,
Yeah.
where you were born and raised, how you were educated, and then what brought you to Maryland.
Excellent. So, I grew up in Austin, Texas, and most of my family had attended the University of Texas, and I was interested in kind of branching out a little bit more, and so I went about 2 hours away to the arch rival Texas A&M
My
University.
goodness.
I had a wonderful experience there, and this is something that I do a lot of work with high school students and college counseling. And one thing that I do emphasize to students is to keep larger state universities in mind because many of them actually have small liberal arts college components nestled within them. So A&M had an honors college there, which was a remarkable program, and I think still is. So there I studied philosophy with a minor in religious studies, ended up loving it so much that I had a dual degree. So I had two BAs, one in political science and history, one in philosophy and religious studies. And it really prepared me for the life of the mind and for connecting my faith with the intellectual rigors of the Christian philosophical tradition.
Okay.
So I knew that as a result of the superb education I had as an undergraduate, that I wanted to go on to graduate school. And the question that I wrestled with was the field to go into, whether I wanted to go into a program specifically in philosophical theology, in philosophy with a focus on philosophy of religion, on intellectual history, or on political philosophy with kind of intersection of religion and politics. So I ended up taking a graduate course right after I graduated at the University of Dallas, a
Hmm.
really phenomenal course on the political philosophy of Jean-Jacques Rousseau and a
Oh,
critique of Rousseau from a Christian perspective. And I found it endlessly fascinating. I had studied Rousseau previously, but not in that much depth. And so I really thought I want to go on for a graduate program that would be interdisciplinary, but would have issues of politics and bringing Christian witness to public service and public affairs at the core of it. So I was very fortunate to learn of and had read some of the works of Professor Robert George while I was an undergraduate, a
mhm.
distinguished professor at Princeton University. And I was also, and still remain, interested in the classical traditions of arete or of virtue. There's a phenomenal Aristotle scholar at Princeton, in addition to Robert George in political philosophy and legal studies. So I said, well, I think this could be a superb program for me. And so I was fortunate enough to be admitted there, did my doctoral work under Professor George, and then uh, took on the difficult work of finding a job. Not many positions out there. It's almost a little bit like I had a professor, Jeff. I don't want to go on too long here, but I had a professor as an undergraduate who told me becoming a professor is a little bit like becoming a minister, in that you have to be willing
Hmm.
to be called to wherever
Hmm.
the Lord sends you, because there's just you don't know where the jobs are going to be available. But I was very fortunate. I worked at a very nice university that I still stay in tremendous contact with. In fact, we run a virtue ethics seminar every other year, and this year our virtue ethics conference is on the virtues of natality, of family, in light of the birth dearth, which is so
Mm.
drastic in certainly in Western Europe, but also in the United States. And that's Christopher Newport University. Christopher Newport
Oh,
University in Newport News, Virginia, is a place that I commend very strongly. But I founded a center there called the Center for Faith and Politics.
mm, mm,
The president at the time at CNU was a wonderful man. He still, of course, is. He's with us and still is just an incredible figure, and that's Senator Paul Tribble.
yeah.
A believer, really strongly committed to making a public institution as faith friendly and really creating an ethos on campus that's supportive of faculty and students of faith. So then that was a wonderful experience there, but then was recruited to come to Washington College.
Mm,
Washington College, beautiful colonial town, Chestertown on the banks of the Chester River, flows into the Chesapeake Bay. The institution founded in 1782, actually by a
mm,
direct gift from Washington himself. The president at the time was really interested in having Washington College more committed to the founding period and to an emphasis on America's first principles. So I was able then to move to Washington College, where the Center for Faith and Politics became the Institute for the Study of Religion, Politics, and Culture, or IRPC. So I'm the founding director of that center at Washington College, which explores the historic and ongoing contributions of the Judeo-Christian tradition to political and cultural life and the enduring value of America's founding principles. And it's a real labor of love. I have a dual appointment in political science and religious studies at Washington College, and it suits me especially well because as a classic small liberal arts college, it prizes intensive mentoring interactions between faculty and
mm.
students. And that's really where I feel most at home. So I've been very happy. I've been very happy there. It's been a little bit rocky in terms of some financial issues and some turnover,
Yeah.
but I will say this: we have a phenomenal president right now at Washington College, and really, really excited about everything that's going on there and the future of the institution. But it's such a joy for me to be able to supplement my work at Washington College with the work I do at MFI.
Well, that's great. I love that history, Joe. And just if I could go back just a bit here to fascinated with your undergraduate experience
Yeah.
personally. Um, um, my own son is a philosophy major, and so would love to have you answer the question: why is studying philosophy important today for anyone, but especially for a Christian young person? What does that possibly have to do with everyday life? I
Right.
mean, shouldn't they be focused on getting a job, training a certain skill or trade? What does philosophy have to do with everyday life?
Well, philosophy, as it were, has everything to do with everyday
Mm,
life. In part because philosophy grounds you in the study of first principles. It
yeah.
also then directs you to questions of ultimate concern while sharpening your reasoning and communication skills,
Mm,
especially your writing and logical and analytical skills.
yeah.
So those are orientations that help you to live a flourishing life. That is to say, to study first principles and have one's mind on ultimate things, which
Yeah.
philosophy inevitably will push you toward. Now, some programs will be more conducive to the study of fundamental issues of morality and metaphysics than others. There is a kind of desiccation that entered into the philosophical discipline throughout the 1900s
Mm,
with the pure analytic approach to philosophy, which it remains a bit arid and wants to eschew these fundamental questions of metaphysics and meaning.
yeah.
But that has become much less prevalent in philosophy. There is, of course, also some European-based continental approaches under the so-called postmodernist and post-structural schools, which sometimes become such a sea of uh, at times obfuscation as to
Mm.
be an interesting exercise to try to master, but not very enlightening. But The core of philosophy, I would argue, is the history of philosophy and logic, because the
Mm,
great thinkers in philosophy are precisely the ones that talk about first principles, about ultimate concerns, about moral values, and all the while prize the sharpness of intellect and the steel kind of resolve to grasp after the truth
yeah.
that is going to inevitably empower someone to succeed in any field, right? That's the great thing about philosophy, is that philosophy gives you the power to be grounded as to assist one to be grounded. It in and of itself is not salvific, but it itself is a great adjunct to a grounding in faith, helps to clarify and deepen and ultimately empower one to bring one's faith to bear with the full, armor of God. I find it not, I find it, superficially at times you can see tensions, because the tensions do exist and you have to wrestle with people like Nietzsche. But when you wrestle with Nietzsche and then ultimately become, as I believe, this honest and dedicated student of philosophy will, understanding of the limitations of the whole atheistic movement that really
Mhm.
has been there since Lucretius and Democritus, but really manifested itself, especially in the 19th century. When you understand the failure of that, it can only have a deepening effect on your faith.
Well, it's a great, and maybe to try to summarize using one word, discernment.
Yeah,
Philosophy is so important for you to understand, because everybody has a philosophy that they're bringing
exactly.
to whatever issue conversation you're having. We can certainly see that in Annapolis at this time during the session, as we have bill hearings and press conferences and protests and rallies and all those kinds of things. Every single person who comes to Annapolis is operating out of a philosophy, whether they admit that or not. And so the ability that you might be able to bring to understand that, to discern it, to analyze it
To
logically.
analyze it, in
Yeah,
absolutely correct. Everyone brings a worldview, as it were, to
that's right.
bear, and so to be able to assess the first principles of their worldview, the ultimate tendency or orientation of the world, where does it end if one continues to pursue it to its
That's right.
final kind of logical conclusions? Where will we be? That kind of analysis, analytical discernment, right?
Mhm.
Is really powerful, and it can work hand in glove with spiritual discernment,
That's right.
because it can clarify faulty and ultimately bankrupt views which are constantly bombarding one, so
Yeah,
as to allow the space for the spiritual discernment, right?
that's right.
So in a way, I really admire what I believe it was John Paul II said, that faith and reason are two wonderful wings on a soaring eagle.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
right.
understand that there are various views about that within the Christian tradition. And so part of what we do in the MFI program for the high school students is to look at, in an appreciative way, the variety of approaches to the intersection of faith and reason and faith and politics within the Christian tradition, so that we can
So
understand things from a variety of viewpoints, but all within the Christian broad umbrella.
let's now turn, Joe, from your history and your academic intellectual training, your work at Washington College there on the Eastern Shore, investing in the next generation of leaders that you get to teach as undergraduates. Turn from that to this program you mentioned, the Maryland Family
Yeah.
Institute Student Fellows Program, which is a program that you run for us. Talk about what the program is, what its goals are, what its mission is, in
It,
general
it's
terms. Don't turn to
it, it,
specifics.
it, its mission is to equip the rising generation of Christian leaders who can bring their faith informed by a deep understanding of the intellectual traditions that have defined the Christian movement and define our faith, the variety of intellectual and spiritual inputs that we have seen through the Christian tradition. It's very important for me to emphasize again that this program is broad and not defined by a particular denominational or confessional orientation, except for ultimate convictions about proclaiming, the risen Jesus.
Yeah.
But with respect to the ultimate goal, it is to bring young people of faith to a position where they have the confidence to boldly
Mm.
proclaim their faith in the public arena and to do so in a way that can have the most positive impact on our state.
It's a wonderful summary of what we're trying to do in this program, linked clearly to our overall mission at Maryland Family Institute. And one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this, Dr. Prud'homme, is not only because of your leadership, your involvement in this, your shepherding of the program and of these students, but it really represents a key part of our strategy for the future here in Maryland.
Indeed.
When we launched the Maryland Family Institute 2.5 years ago, and still this day, when I tell people that we exist and why we exist, most people of faith, most Christians or conservatives say, "My goodness, Maryland, do you know about Maryland?"
And do we
And
ever know about Maryland? Yeah.
do we ever do we ever know that? And as someone who is at Annapolis every day, especially during session, I'm painfully aware of the dominance of one political party over that town, veto-proof majorities in both houses, control of the governor's mansion. The bottom line is we're not passing bills. I mean, we're just not, given those numbers.
We can do with your leadership and the leadership of others at MFI, we're able to block some of the worst ones.
Well,
But
that's right. That's right.
again, I
Yeah.
understand exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
But so in light of that reality, the question is, so okay, what is your strategy moving forward? And a big part of it is a longer term commitment to identify the next generation of
Exactly.
Christian leaders in Maryland, and then to equip them with the
Indeed.
tools that they'll need, just like you said, to advance the kingdom in the future. This is a long term project.
It has to be. Has to be.
To talk,
And
talk, talk, yeah,
I'd just say, Jeff, I'm sorry to interrupt here. But having had the opportunity, as I did, to study under Professor Robert George, I was at Princeton when he first started his
hmm,
intellectual center there called the James Madison Program for American Ideals and Institutions. This is going back 26 years or so. And at that time, there were almost no such programs in American higher education. And now we see that they're really taking off in many areas across the country. So
yeah.
it's just the evidence of how God provides and we stay the course. And
Yeah.
so it's going to take a long time, but I'm very confident that with God, with us listening to God and being directed by his will, we're going to make a real difference.
So tell me a little bit about the specifics of the program. What do the students do? How long does it last? Is it difficult? What are the components to it? Talk about the
Excellent.
specifics.
Excellent. So the program is designed primarily for high school students, although on a case by case basis, we are able to take freshmen, even sometimes sophomores in college. But it's primarily designed for juniors and for seniors in high school. It's a program that lasts 6 months, and we start in May. And just a little bit over 6 months. We start in May with an orientation session, which we do online because we want to reach students from across the state. And we know that it would be prohibitively difficult if we had too much of our activity in person. Contra-wise, we understand that if it's wholly online and doesn't have the personal connection, it can't reach its full potential. So we mix throughout the program, starting in late May until our commencement dinner in early to mid-December. I think, Jeff, we set it for December the 10th, I believe it is. That scope from end of May to middle of December is the time horizon that we work in, and we blend online and in-person instruction. We are blessed to have a partnership with Grove City College, a very, very fine institution of higher education, which certifies credentials for full college credit, the
Hmm.
course that is a fundamental kind of capstone here to this. It's a foundational stone. for the program. The course begins in June, and the course is titled Christianity, Freedom in the State. Um, and college credit is given by Grove City College. We meet Monday through Thursdays in the evenings online for the instruction for the month of June. Again, students get full college credit for that, transfer to any college or university across the country. That then is June and lays the foundation then for subsequent interactions that we have up until the commencement dinner in December. And those interactions include in July a summer summit where we work with the students around their schedules to find a time when we can all meet in person in Annapolis. Annapolis, of course, is centrally located. So we're trying, make it, and of course, it's the pulsing heart of the politics of the state, and an historically very significant city, and a beautiful one to boot. So we have summer summits that work with the senior faculty, such as your senior staff, rather, such as yourself and Jonathan Alexander and others, for in-person mentoring about how to bring one's Christian vocation to bear, right, in the public arena. We also have a series of interactions through online media, right, primarily through Zoom, where we have opportunities for students to meet with and to learn from some of the leading Christian thinkers across the world. This would include such distinguished philosophers who give us a set of sessions on apologetics as J.P. Moreland of Biola University, Talbot School of Theology, include very prominent scholars on the intersection of religion and public life, such as Roger Trigg from the University of Oxford. So we have substantive sessions that take place from August until November on about a 2 to 3 week basis during that time. Every 2 to 3 weeks, we will have those sessions with extraordinarily prominent people that will be in the small group environment that this experience really is meant to be. So we cap the number of students at 12. Right, because interest in, as you know, in the program is very strong, but we do want to keep a seminar and intensive mentoring feel throughout the entirety of the program. So, in addition to substantive topic areas by leading Christian philosophers and statesmen from around the world, we also have a dedicated series of sessions just on logical analysis. We have a great logician, professor of logic, who works with us on that. And we look at both formal and informal logic. And that's a very important part of it because, again, one is being bombarded as a Christian in contemporary culture with all sorts of noise and all sorts of distractions and all sorts of seductions. And so one needs to have as clear a logical analysis of that, which is bombarding one as a young person can possibly have. So logic plays a really important role in that. We then meet again throughout the fall, also in in-person sessions at the MFI headquarters. Of course, as you know, we have a wonderful partnership with the Classical Learning Test, which has a beautiful 18th century home right in downtown Annapolis. And so we have the opportunity to use their facilities. And so we, again, blend the online and in-person modalities. But without having too many in person, because we know the difficulties that can have since we're reaching all across the state. So that's the thing. One thing that I would want to say, Jeff, is that along the road, a core element of the program is college counseling. Most of the students here are going to be interested in going on to four-year institutions. And so part and parcel of the program is also an intensive mentoring of our student fellows to catapult them into the right four-year institution, right? Some might be interested in going directly in the military or other things. Of course, we're very welcoming of that, and we'll do all we can to assist as well. But I have a long history in working in college counseling, and so I'm able to work one-on-one with students on their applications, thinking about how to sculpt or curate the things that they've done so as to position themselves for, putting themselves in the position to get admitted to that right four-year institution for them. And so it really affords students a remarkable experience. Is it challenging? Sure. But is it overwhelming? No, I don't think so. No,
Yeah.
I think it's right there.
That's a great summary, Joe, of all the various elements of this program. And so I want to encourage our listeners to go to marylandfamily.org. Right at the top of the page, they'll see a clickable window that says MFI Student Fellows Program. It'll take you right to a one pager with all the details, everything that Dr. Prud'homme just said. The best part about this is that you get all of this program, the college credit, the individualized mentoring and training and logic, the commissioning dinner at the end for $660. An amazing value. I don't know, there's no other organization, certainly in the state of Maryland, that is offering this kind of experience, fellowship with us.
And
Uh, uh,
Jeff, this is only made possible, as you know, because of the
yeah,
investment of our supporters. And
that's
our
right.
supporters have been able to make these investments because you and your staff are doing such incredible work here in Maryland. And so we're
Well,
bringing attention to people who want to make these investments so that we can play that long game to make our state much, much more friendly to faith, family, and freedom than it
that's
currently
great.
is.
Our guest today on Maryland Family Matters has been Joe Prud'homme. He is professor at Washington College. But more importantly, for our purposes, he is the director of the Maryland Family Institute Student Fellows Program. If you would like more information on that program, just go to marylandfamily.org. Click on that yellow banner at the top, and you'll get all that information. If you want to send us an email, if you have questions, you want to talk to Dr. Prud'homme personally, please feel free to reach out to him at jprudhomme, Prudhomme, jprudhomme at marylandfamily.org. Dr. Prud'homme, thank you so much for joining us today on
Well,
Maryland
thank
Family.
you. Let me also add that I really do hope that anyone who's interested in this reaches out to me, and I'd be delighted to follow up with a phone call or Zoom meeting with anyone. So, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you so much.
All
We'll see
right.
you
God
next
bless.
time.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.